What's going on, engineers? This is part 9 of the Node.js Basics series, and this is all about file input and output. So file input and output covers a broad range of things that Node.js can do, but generally speaking, anything you could do at the command line, you can do through Node.js. So that includes opening files, that includes writing to files, deleting files, changing ownership and permissions of files, moving and renaming files, and watching files, along with tons of other stuff. So let's jump in. So while I said there's a lot of things you can do through the FS module for Node.js, we're going to focus primarily on 3 things: reading, writing, and deleting. So to use the FS module, which stands for file system, you simply do require FS. So first we're talking about is reading a file, and because reading a file reads it from the operating system and it needs the operating system's help to read it, it's going to be asynchronous. So you supply it 3 arguments. The first is going to be the name of the file. Second is going to be read options, which we'll talk about in a second. Then the third is going to be a callback, which will be called once the file is read. And that's either going to contain error or it's going to contain the data of the file. So if you're coming from other languages, you know there's certain modes that you can use, and that's where this flag comes in. And it's part of the read options. So for the read options, you can specify an encoding and specify a flag. So in this case, I used R, which says open the file for reading. There's also a synchronous version of read, and if you wanted that, you would do let data equals, you would add sync after read file, and then just get rid of the callback. And this would be the synchronous version. So next is writing to a file, and writing to a file is kind of like reading it, except you have to provide an additional argument with the content that you want to write to the file, and then the write options, you have an additional kind of option called mode, which you can set for what the permissions mode should be of the file. So in this case, this would be readable and writable by everybody, and then I'm using flag W, which means open the file for writing, but also truncate the file if it exists, or just create the file if it doesn't exist. And then again, the synchronous version is exactly the same. You can just get rid of the callback and add sync at the end of it, and that would be the synchronous version. And the last one is to delete a file. In this case, it's fs.unlink, and it takes 2 arguments. The first is the file to delete, and then the second is the callback, which will be called once it's deleted. And just like the rest, it has a synchronous version as well. Again, just remove the callback, and then specify sync. And this would be the synchronous version of delete. And that's it for file input and output. There's a lot of things you can do with the FS module, and most of them have an asynchronous version as well as a synchronous version if for some reason you need that. But most of it's very straightforward and not hard to work with. That's it for the video. As usual, if you have any questions or comments, leave them below or come to Discord to chat about them. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video.